Hello and a warm welcome to you, my esteemed viewers and fellow students. In case you are joining us for the first time, the channel is Alfonso de Rothschild's Tutorials. It's a channel dedicated to helping all of us have a better grasp of our English language, to help all of us keep improving, keep bettering our lots in this all-important examination, and especially for our everyday use, for business transactions, and for secondary school or high school students who are preparing for their internal examination and the external ones, especially the WAEC conducted SSCE examination, the IJMB, and the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination conducted by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, the NAPTEP, and similar examinations. Now, what this implies that everyone has a place on this channel, and you are welcome to join us. I will refer you to our previous videos on the present tenses and the past tenses. Today, we are concretizing or taking one step more further in our study of the past tenses. And we are talking about the past perfect tense. On our immediate previous video, we talked about the past progressive tense. Please do well to watch that video. Excuse me. So like I was saying, do well to watch that video on the past progressive tense. For today, we'll begin by asking the question, the most important or fundamental one: what do we mean by past perfect? In English grammar, the word perfect means completed. But completed doesn't always mean it has come to an end. So an action that has been completed might still be going on. It might still be progressive or continuous. And so sometimes we talk about the present progressive, and then we talk about the present perfect, meaning completed in the present progressive. Present perfect progressive, meaning completed. The action is completed, but it hasn't ended, but it's still going on. So the past perfect tense talks about an action completed in the past, just before something else happened. So we use the past perfect tense to say that one action just ended and another happened immediately. Or just as one action was ended in the past, a second action followed. I'd like to begin by giving us our first example. But before that, let us take a look at how the verb is conjugated. The first part is had, the past tense and past participle of the verb to have. Had. And had is followed by a past participle. That is the past participle of the lexical verb or the main verb. The verb had itself, a primary auxiliary verb, functions here as an auxiliary. It is not the main verb. The main verb is the one that expresses the action, and that is the past participle. Let us take an example. If this sentence is number 1A, and then we have a sentence which says, So in these examples, 1A and 1B, we talk about two actions that took place independently in the past. Carol wanted to accept the overseas scholarship. The verb is wanted, and it is the simple past tense. Then 1B says she soon decided to study in a local university. She soon decided to study in a local university. So in this 1B, the verb again is in a simple past tense, decided. So both sentences have verbs in a simple past tense. So each verb represents an action that took place independent of the other in the past. We can now talk about the past perfect tense. If we extend our example to C, then in example 1C, we will join the two sentences, A and B, together in order to show that one of the actions just ended in the past before the other one happened. They are now in one sentence. And the aim is to show that just as one action was ending, the other took place. Good. Remember the actions, wanted and decided. Any one of them could have taken place in the past. It was possible that Carol wanted to accept the scholarship first, or that she decided to study in a local university first, whichever one. But the point is that action that took place first in the past is the one that we add had. We add had before the verb for the action that took place first in the past. Let us take a look at the example. So this is our new sentence, a combination of A and B. It says, Carol had wanted to accept the overseas scholarship, but soon decided to study in a local university. You discover that what we did was to now put the auxiliary had before the first verb, wanted. So it is now had wanted. And then the other verb decided remains the way it is. In this sentence C, decided, still in the simple past tense, represents the second action, the one that happened immediately after the first action. But had wanted is now past perfect tense. It illustrates an action that took place first in the past just before another one followed. I am sure you have a question. But if you don't have, then I'm happy. That implies that you completely understood what I'm talking about. Good. Let's take it another sentence. If we have 2A, for instance, and we say, so we have another set of two sentences, 2A and B. The first one, 2A, says, the train departed. The verb departed is a simple past tense. The verb departed the station. B, the pilgrims arrived. If we now say C, we can say the pilgrims had arrived. arrived before the train departed the station. Full stop. So you see the difference. The pilgrims had arrived. So we put had before the verb arrived, which we have in sentence to be. By putting had before it, it has become the past perfect tense, representing the action that happened first between the two. While the other verb, departed, which is still in the simple past tense, represents the second action that took place in the past. In other words, the arrival of the pilgrims had just occurred before the departure of the train. Remember that it can also be done the other way. Assume we extend our sentences to D. Then we can say the train had departed before the pilgrims arrived at the station. Before the pilgrims arrived at the station. So in this example, the departure of the train occurred first. It had departed before the pilgrims arrived. That the arrival of the pilgrims occurred second. It occurred just as the train was departing the station. In the same way, we can rewrite sentence 1C, which we had first, by saying, for instance, Carol had decided to study in a local university before she wanted to accept the overseas scholarship. The whole point I want to drive home to you is that you say had wandered, had gone, had eaten, had missed, had walked away, when you mean that that action occurred in the past before another action. Then you add that second action using the simple present tense. For instance, you can say, Shema had walked away before Daddy drove in. When Daddy drove in, Shema had walked away, meaning one action took place and ended just before the other one happened. Let us take another sentence. This time, it should be our sentence 3. Still illustrating, we take 3A. 3A. Sentence 3A is complete with the two parts. We have had begun. Begun is a past participle. Thus, it is the lexical verb here. Had is still the auxiliary. And then the other verb is got. And the sentence says, when Juliana and Eddie got to the theater, the drama had begun. That means that Eddie and Juliana were late at the theater. They got to the theater when the drama performance was already going on. Let's take 3B. We say, for instance, now let's take a look at this sentence. It says, Amanda and Lawrence could have caught the first flight. That means that they failed to catch the first flight. But they drove into the airport when the flight had taken off. That is the past perfect tense. The flight had taken off when they drove into the airport. As a result, they failed to catch the first flight, which they could have caught if they had arrived much earlier. That is a past perfect tense. Good. So let us talk about another use of the past perfect tense. I guess you now understand what we mean when we say that if you want to talk about two things that happened in the past, and your aim is to show that one happened immediately following the first one, or that one action happened first and was immediately followed by a second, that you should use the past perfect tense. Let us take a common example. Good. We say, for instance, you had missed your breakfast. You had missed your breakfast before you remembered it because you were in haste to get to school. You had missed it. That means the missing occurred and then the remembering followed. Good. You say Alice had paid us a visit. Alice had paid us a visit before Frank met her. Two actions in the past. Frank met Alice. Alice paid us a visit. One took place just before the other. Alice had paid us a visit before Frank met her. Oh, let us assume that the meeting by Frank to Alice took place first. Then we say Frank had met Alice before she visited us. Frank had met Alice before she visited us, or Alice had visited us before Frank met her. The verb that has the verb that has had with it is the one that expresses the past perfect tense, and it indicates the first action in the past. The one that doesn't have the auxiliary had with it is the simple past tense, and it represents the second action. Good. Sometimes, just to finalize, the past perfect tense is also used to show that something had lasted for a long time in the past before another thing or another action or event followed. So we have an example of this will be our example 1. We say This sentence says, had lived. Mr. Esika and his family had lived in Frankfurt for a decade before the German unification. That means they had lived for a long time in Frankfurt, and then the unification came. Two. So number 2 says, before her retirement from public service, Madame de Francois had worked as the government spokeswoman. That means a long time before her retirement, she had worked as a government spokeswoman. You notice that in these two sentences, we do not have the simple past form like drove here and like we have in the other one. We are simply saying that someone had worked or had done something for a long time before a certain event took place. So if we now say she had been in the garden all morning it says she had been in the garden all morning. She should be tired, meaning it is reasonable that she is tired. It is reasonable to expect her to be tired because she had been in the garden all morning. Had been, meaning she'd been there. That action had lasted for a very long time in the past. Sentence 4. Melek had sojourned in Spain for 3 decades. That's why he speaks such impeccable Spanish. So the sentence means that Melek had been a resident, had lived in, had resided in Spain for 3 decades, that's 30 years. And so it is understandable why he speaks such faultless, such stainless, such untarnished Spanish. It is reasonable because of the long time he had spent here. Alright, if you have enjoyed my presence as much as I've done yours, then there is something you can do for us on this channel. Like this video and share it so that others like you will have the same opportunity to be a part of our class. Then subscribe to this channel so that you can receive our videos firsthand, and by so doing, you will encourage us to do more, to give you more videos like this one. There are so many videos that are coming. They are uncountable, so we cannot mention number. There is no end to the learning of a language, and there is no end to what can be learned, to what can be added to our store of knowledge as it is at present. So I thank you for being a part of history, for being a part of progress. I invite you to join me on our next video. On that video, we will conclude our discussion on the past tenses by talking about the past perfect progressive tense. Thank you for being a part of us. Goodbye.